In this way, a month passed in an instant. During this month, Jason was practicing every day and did not waste even a day. Under such arduous training, the 7th level advanced spiritual power in his body continued to condense, and a large amount of 5-element spiritual power was absorbed into his body, and then stored in the powerful meridians, like rivers. His body was constantly flowing and surging, emitting a powerful and astonishing coercion. In just 1 month, Jason, who had just entered the 7th level Senior Imperial Spiritual Master, had reached an extremely terrifying amount of spiritual power in his body. At least judging from the amount of spiritual power in his body, Jason could not stand it at all. It is not like a spiritual master who has just been promoted to the 7th level Senior Imperial Spiritual Master for more than a month. Instead, it seems that he has been promoted to the Senior Imperial Spiritual Master for a long time. Indeed, with Jason's peak 8th level physical strength and the specialness of the spiritual god technique, in this valley of pure 5-element spiritual energy that is 10 times the outside world, the amount of spiritual energy elements that Jason swallows each time is equivalent to an ordinary 7th level high-level warrior. There are more than 10 times as many Imperial Spiritual Masters as there are in the outside world. Therefore, although Jason has been practicing in this valley for only more than a month, compared with the ordinary high-level Imperial Spiritual Masters in the outside world, it is equivalent to 1 or 2 years of cultivation. 1 month later, while Jason was practicing in the valley, Protector Mingxi arrived at the Island of Transformation. Whoosh! Just before Protector Mingxi landed on Huashan Island, a black and white stream of light suddenly rose from a mountain wall on Huashan Island and stopped in front of Protector Mingxi. This is the God Transformation Island. I didn't know that Protector Mingxi came all the way. What's the matter? Cassianus stopped in front of Protector Mingxi and said. Oh, it turns out to be Cassianus. Protector Mingxi's face showed a hint of surprise at first, and then he laughed quickly. I came here to invite Jason on the order of Elder Waterfield. From the core hall. Faced with Cassianus's obstruction, Protector Mingxi did not feel any displeasure in his heart. Although he was the protector of the core hall and allocated resources among the core disciples, Cassianus was the existence that ranks second on the list of elixirs of the year, whether in terms of strength or status. Protector Mingxi cannot compare with core disciples like Cassianus, so naturally he is not dissatisfied at all. According to the order of Elder Waterfield, please invite Jason to the core hall. Cassianus's eyes suddenly lit up. He thought of what Jason said a month ago, and immediately said, please also invite Mingxi Guardian. Wait here, I will inform Jason right away. Watching Cassianus turn around and fly towards Huashan Island, without even the thought of letting himself go down and sit for a while, Guardian Mingxi couldn't help but have a bitter smile on his face. Laughed. Not long after, 3 streams of light flew out from Huashan Island. Haha, Protector Mingxi came from afar, but Jason was disappointed. Jason laughed from afar. Where? Protector Mingxi said hurriedly. When he saw Lan Yuigusan behind Jason, he couldn't help but be startled. He thought to himself, my dear, why are these 3 people gathered together? Main Protector Shi, why don't we go down and sit down together? Jason invited warmly. He didn't have any airs about staff like Protector Mingxi, even though when Protector Mingxi assigned him to his mansion, he assigned him the current Transformation Island, but Jason was also a blessing in disguise, and that was not the original intention of Protector Mingxi. Every time Jason went to the core hall, Protector Mingxi also helped him a lot. Jason naturally didn't. How would he feel about the other party? Haha, that's it. Jason, I appreciate your kindness, but I don't dare to let Elder Waterfield and the others wait for me there for too long. Protector Mingxi said with a smile. In that case, let's go. Jason was not polite, nodded immediately, and Protector Mingxi turned into 2 streams of light and disappeared into the sky. A moment later, inside the core hall, in the same hall as last time, Jason once again stood in front of Waterfield and others. How about Jason, how have you been thinking about this month? Elder Waterfield said seriously at the front of the hall. I am willing to go to the Salem Empire and serve as the president of the Londo Province's Panacea Medicine Union. Jason nodded. After Jason finished speaking, Elder Waterfield and others looked at each other, with smiles on their faces, and their eyes became much kinder and softer. Jason's refusal last time really made them feel very humiliated. In the history of the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, there has never been a case where core disciples refused to be released. Now Jason's agreement makes them feel very good. See, Jason is also much kinder. People are like this. If Jason had agreed directly last time, I'm afraid they wouldn't have felt anything. But Jason refused at first, and now after agreeing, they have a very unique Injia. Jason. Elder Waterfield smiled and said, because you are the president of the Elixir Alchemist Union of Londo Province in the Salem Empire. It is an extremely important union in our Elixir Alchemist Tower. Therefore, your position is very high and involves a lot, so you agree. Finally, this needs to go through a process. We will give you the transfer order after the meeting. You only need to arrive in the province of Nerone within 3 months. As for all the affairs there, you will manage them yourself. Jason nodded. In that case, you should go down first and wait in the core hall. We will send someone to give you the transfer order. Waterfield said. Looking at Jason's back disappearing through the door, everyone present looked at each other with a smile on their faces. Jason finally agreed. Just now I was really afraid that he would say a word of rejection. Haha, last time it was just that Jason didn't know the meaning of the release, and he didn't know that Jason, what kind of performance will it have when we get to the Salem Empire? The situation in the Rondo province is very complicated. Jason has some strength, but I don't know what his brains and abilities are like. I just want to take this opportunity to observe. The external mission is a test and important assessment of a disciple by our Spiritual Medicine Master Tower. Strength and spiritual medicine attainments are just one aspect. Our Spiritual Medicine Master Tower also attaches great importance to character and ability. It all depends on his performance. Walter, Elder Field, Elder Sevlin, and many palace masters all spoke out. This external mission is a test of the disciple's ability. If Jason makes a mess in the Salem Empire and cannot control the situation, the Elixir Master Tower will not be able to control the situation in the end. We'll choose him. After rioting in Linghai, Jason returned to Huashan Island after receiving the transfer order. How's it going? Lanuigusan and Cassinus both came forward. This is a transfer order. I only need to arrive in the Rondo province within 3 months. Is this the president of the Rondo province's Elixir Medicine Union? Cassinus and Lanuigusan both nodded. Do a good job, Jason. This external mission is equivalent to a test for you by the Alchemist Tower. Any action you take will be seen by the Alchemist Tower and give you a final evaluation. In fact, it is also the Alchemist Tower who understands. If you perform well in one of your processes, the probability of inheriting the inheritance of the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower will be greater in the future. Lanuigusan said solemnly. Jason nodded. That's right. Jason suddenly said, I decided to leave in the next 2 days. Before that, I'm going to meet a few of my friends in Panacea City. I won't be there then, so I hope you can help me. Please take care of me. The competition in the Elixir Tower is extremely fierce. Claire, Leonardo, and the others are also in the Elixir City. Jason is afraid that if they encounter any trouble after he leaves, it will not be easy to solve. A few of your friends? No problem, it's up to us. When will you go see them, now? Take us to get to know them too. We will also take care of your God Transformation Island for you, and we won't let anyone it was destroyed by people. Both Lanuigusan and Cassinus spoke out. Now, Jason said, and the 3 of them immediately turned into 3 streams of light and flew towards the teleportation array in the core hall. In the Elixir City, the teleportation array on the 6th floor of the Elixir Tower several elixir tower staff were chatting in front of the registration desk. The 6-story teleportation array of the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower is the teleportation array that connects the Sky City and the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower. Generally, there are few disciples coming and going, so these staff members are usually very bored. Suddenly, the few people who were chatting all looked at the teleportation array. Buzz. The teleportation array that had always been silent suddenly lit up at this moment. Then, the dazzling white light dissipated, and 3 figures appeared in the teleportation array. A powerful wave of spiritual power emitted from the 3 people, which frightened the staff. The Tower of the Spiritual Medicine Master? How many years have I not been here? Cassinus looked at the surrounding scene and couldn't help but sigh. One of the 3 Immortals' staff members came over with a respectful look on his face. After the 3 Jasons registered, they left the Elixir Tower. The familiar sight of the Elixir City outside made both Jason and Cassinus sigh with emotion. Whizzing. Whoosh. 3 streams of light rose into the sky, and a moment later, 3 figures landed in the senior disciple area. Looking at the familiar villa, Jason walked forward with a smile on his face, but found that the door of Rongxing's villa was tightly closed. Obviously no one was there. You are senior brother Jason. At this moment, a senior disciple happened to pass by this area. After seeing the 3 people at the door of Rongxing Villa, a trace of curiosity appeared on his face, and then took a closer look, and the whole person was stunned. Who are you? Jason turned his head and realized that he didn't know this person. Senior brother Jason, I am a disciple who lives in this area. I have met you before. Seeing Jason, the senior disciple's face suddenly became a little nervous. Jason was famous in the Elixir City. Until now, I still remember it clearly. Oh. Jason nodded. Senior brother Jason, you are looking for Rongxing and the others. They are not in the villa now. At this time, they are usually accepting challenges in the challenge room. The senior disciple spoke respectfully, and the 3 Jasons faintly exuded a faint aura. The pressure made him, a senior disciple, feel huge oppression in his heart. Accept the challenge? Jason's brows raised. Let's go. The 3 people turned into 3 streams of light and flew towards the challenge room of the Elixir City like lightning. Warmly celebrate the cha-cha dancing fish sisters who have been promoted to the head of this book. Hee, celebrate grandly and scatter flowers. The Challenge Center is located on the south side of the Elixir Medicine Tower, in the south city of the Elixir City. This is an extremely huge building, majestic and glorious, guarding the south of the Elixir City, and it is extremely domineering. In the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, a place with extremely fierce competition, the Challenge Center, as a place for spiritual masters to compete, is extremely popular and has a constant flow of pedestrians. In just a moment, the 3 Jasons appeared in the sky above the Challenge Center, and then landed directly. The guys here are really weak. I feel like I can kill them all with just one slap. Looking at the bustling crowd in the Challenge Center, Cassinus said without hesitation. On the side, a peripheral disciple happened to be walking by. After hearing Cassinus's words, he raised his head with annoyance and glanced at Cassinus aside, but when he saw Cassinus's black and white with his charming long hair and the faintly terrifying aura emanating from his body, the outer disciple's face suddenly turned pale, and he swallowed back what he wanted to say. Just from Cassinus' aura, the disciple could feel that this man with long black and white hair was not someone he could provoke. Many other disciples around him also heard Kazana's words and looked at him with unhappy eyes. What are you looking at? Why? Are you not convinced? Come on if you are not convinced, haha, let me pick a group of you one by one, haha. Cassinus laughed unscrupulously. On the side, the corners of Jason and Lanue Goosen's mouths twitched slightly, and they looked at Cassinus with crazy expressions. The Elixir City is the periphery of the Elixir Master Tower. Among the disciples here, the highest level is only the 7th level Senior Imperial Spiritual Master. Cassinus is in the core of the Elixir Master Tower and among the top 3 in the Sky City. Cassinus, a peerless evildoer and an 8th-level advanced Imperial Spiritual Master, acted like a high school student provoking a group of elementary school students. It really made Jason and Gusen feel ashamed. But they also knew that Cassinus and this group of peripheral disciples were just joking, and it was just too bad a joke. From the crowd, Jason walked out. Everyone, does anyone know which challenge room Rongxing and the others are in? Rongxing and the others? They should be in challenge room number 21. Someone in the crowd said. Thank you. Jason nodded and walked to challenge room number 21 with Gusen. Hey, wasn't that black-haired young man Jason just now? After Jason and the others left, someone in the crowd was surprised. Jason? Which one apologizes? The other one is the one who defeated the core disciple Paltero in the Challenge Center arena a year ago and was then promoted to the core disciple. It's him. It's indeed him. Why did he return to the Elixir City? But to be honest, the group of people they entered the Elixir City together were all untouchables. Now that Leonardo and the others are in the Elixir City, who among us dares to provoke? Leonardo, Sophia, Claire, and Melting Saint, those are the 4 heroes of our Elixir City. They are the absolute overlords. Many disciples spoke out, sighing with emotion. At this moment, in front of Challenge Room 21 in the Challenge Center, a large group of disciples gathered around and talked incessantly. On the ring in the center of the Challenge Room, Leonardo stepped forward slowly. In front of him, the disciple with a scar on his face had a dull expression. Boom! The long sword on Leonardo's waist suddenly slashed down, and the dazzling brilliance broke through the void and struck the scar-faced disciple. Terrifying spiritual power spurted out of the disciple's body. Flying upside down, he fell out of the challenge room. Ahem! The disciple coughed, and he woke up from his daze. After discovering where he was, a wry smile suddenly appeared on his face. 5 moves, I lost. The disciple shook his head and said, Leonardo, your progress is too great. Last time in your hands, I could still hold on to 8 moves. This time I am trying after 2 months of hard training in the secret refining realm. I thought I would be able to hold on until 10 moves away and avenge the last time, but I didn't expect that this time I couldn't even catch 5 moves. It's really the disciple said. While making a sound, he took the points instrument from the staff and transferred 100,000 points to Leonardo's identity card. However, there was no hint of dissatisfaction on the disciple's face, and he said boldly, 100,000 points, I did not lose unfairly. Is there anyone else? 100,000 points challenge, you can challenge any one of the 4 of us, as long as if you can survive 10 moves under us, you can win 100,000 points. Leonardo said loudly in the challenge room. Behind him, Claire, Melting Saint, Sophia, Temujin, and Dini Shah, Kiros, Sri Lanka and others were sitting there quietly. Countless disciples around were talking about it. There were many senior disciples at the level of 7th level senior emperor spiritual masters, but no one dared to come up. It wasn't that they didn't want to earn points, it was because Leonardo and the others were too powerful. Leonardo and others started this challenge half a year ago. The original rule was not to hold on to 10 moves under their hands, but to defeat them in order to win 100,000 points. Leonardo's power was known to everyone on the first day he entered the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower. When he used the power of the 7th level Intermediate Imperial Spiritualist to fight against the 7th level Senior Imperial Spiritualist Redis, if Redis Imran hadn't used a stand-in doll, Leonardo would have won. Now that he has been promoted to the 7th level Senior Imperial Spiritual Master, his strength is obviously stronger, but there are still many 7th level Senior Imperial Spiritual Master disciples who are eager to challenge him. After all, Redis is a spiritual medicine master. Although his strength has reached the 7th level advanced level, there is still some gap compared with those 7th level advanced spiritual masters. There are still some disciples who dare not challenge Leonardo, but they don't know the strength of Claire, Sophia and Melting Saint. Moreover, Sophia and Leonardo were 7th-level senior imperial spiritual masters at the beginning, but Claire and Rongxing is only a 7th-level intermediate imperial spiritual master. Naturally, many veteran 7th-level high-level imperial spiritual masters are dissatisfied. Ever since, the fierce challenge began, but the result was a surprise to everyone. All those who challenged Leonardo lost to Leonardo, and those who challenged Sophia dozens of times. He only lost a few times. Although these are surprising, they are still barely acceptable. What is surprising is the challenge to the 2 intermediate-level imperial spiritual masters, Melting Saint and Claire, because they are at a lower level and have challenged them the most times. Each of them has reached nearly 100 times. However, the challenge to Melting Saint is among the hundreds of disciples, only a dozen disciples have achieved victory. You must know that those challengers are all 7th-level senior imperial spiritual masters. The most shocking thing was the one who challenged Claire. Facing this intermediate-level imperial spiritual master, in the past 100 times, no one like Leonardo had ever won, which shocked the entire elixir city. There was an uproar. As time went by, after seeing the strength of Claire and the others, almost no disciples were willing to challenge them. Immediately, Leonardo and the others changed the rules. Initially, within 50 moves, if you don't lose, you will get 100,000 points. This rule caused another wave of challenges, but as the challenge progressed, time passed, Leonardo and the others improved in strength, and the number of people began to decrease again. Up to now, even if the rules are set at 10 moves, the number of disciples who come up to challenge each time is extremely small. There are only a few of them, and most of them challenge Melting Saint and Sophia, and challenge Leonardo. There are almost pitifully few. As for Claire, no one has challenged her since she was promoted to the 7th-level senior imperial spiritual master not long ago. Who else wants to challenge today? As long as you persist in 10 moves without defeat, you can get 100,000 points. In the challenge room, Leonardo looked at the crowd in the line-picking room and shouted again. Do you insist on 10 moves? This is too difficult to challenge. How about this, if you can persist in 1 move in my hand, how about I give you 1,000,000 points? At this moment, a loud voice was challenging. It rang outside and reached everyone's ears. Who is it? Who is so arrogant and dares to say such things to Leonardo and the others? He is simply seeking death, Hearing this, all the disciples present were shocked and looked at the door of the challenge room. And Leonardo also had a serious look on his face, and his eyes fell on the entrance of the challenge room. When he saw who it was, Leonardo's original solemn expression was suddenly shocked. Jason. In the challenge room, Leonardo's expression was dull and he murmured. Hearing this name, Claire, Melting Saint and others all stood up. Their faces were full of excitement and they looked at the door in disbelief. Master! Master! Jason! Excited exclamations suddenly sounded in the challenge room, full of joy. Many disciples in the challenge room were stunned when they saw the figure at the door. Jason's fame in the elixir city was known to everyone. Looking at the familiar faces of Rongxing and the others in the challenge room, Jason had a knowing smile on his face at the door of the challenge room. Master! Claire flew out all of a sudden, and her eyes suddenly became moist. In the astonished eyes of countless people, this beautiful woman with a great reputation in the elixir city and an undefeated record, suddenly, she threw herself into the warm embrace she had been away from for more than a year. Tears dripped from the corners of her eyes without hesitation, and she greedily breathed in the familiar smell of Jason. Looking at the girl in red who threw herself into Jason's arms, the entire challenge room fell into silence. Everyone stared at this scene with wide eyes and disbelief. Because of the challenges over the past 6 months, Claire and others have become famous in the elixir city. Both Claire and Sophia are naturally beautiful, so they have naturally attracted the hearts of countless disciples. Of the two of them, Sophia is a spiritual master of the light system. She is like a goddess from the 9 heavens. She seems to be free from smoke and dust, and is extremely holy, giving people an indescribable charm and attraction. Claire, on the other hand, is talented and golden. Her long hair, silver eyes, breakable skin, and delicious face, especially her fragile feeling, make people have an urge to take care of her from the bottom of their hearts. Especially Claire's strength, so that she can only be looked up to by countless disciples, and they dare not have the slightest thought of transcendence or wrongdoing. Claire's reserved and indifferent appearance has always made countless disciples admire her like the lover of their dreams. But at this moment, this beautiful woman who was always indifferent on weekdays suddenly fluttered towards her like a clinging bird. Entering Jason's arms broke the hearts of countless disciples in this challenge room. With his arms tightly hugging the slender waist, Jason lowered his head and sniffed the girl's fragrant blonde hair, feeling Claire's soft body, and there was also a faint feeling of emotion in Jason's heart. Cough aside, Lanyu Gusen couldn't help but frown. After the hug between the two lasted for nearly a minute, he finally couldn't stand the blazing gazes from around him and coughed lightly. Hearing the cough, Claire, who was nestling in Jason's arms like a bird, finally woke up from the happiness and excitement of meeting the person she had been missing for the past year. Suddenly, a flash of bright red flashed across her face, as elegant as orchid, and she immediately withdrew from Jason's arms, lowering her head like a mimosa, extremely shy. "Master, you finally came to see us. I really miss my disciple." On the side, Rongxing was also shouting with excitement, "Master, do you know that my disciple is now one of the 4 heroes in this elixir city, and the disciple has been promoted to the 6th level of high-level elixir master. It will not be long before he can be promoted to the 7th level of low-level elixir master. By then, the disciple will be able to become a core disciple and practice with the master." Rong Icon is like a child, showing off his achievements in front of Jason, hoping to gain his approval. "Not bad." Jason smiled and nodded. "Jason." After Rongxing, Leonardo and others came up with joy on their faces. "It's not convenient to talk here, let's go back first," Xuanzin said with a smile. "Okay." Everyone responded with a roar, and immediately a group of people left the challenge center and flew towards the villa area of the senior disciples. In Jason's original villa, a group of people sat in the hall full of joy. "Master, when you left, you said you would visit us often. Why are you only coming out now? You miss me so much." As soon as everyone sat down, Rongxing called out. "Haha." Jason smiled. When he first became a core disciple, he also wanted to come out often. But after he truly became a core disciple, during this year, he was extremely busy every moment, and there was no need to spare time, so it was delayed again and again. Now, he finally understands why those core disciples rarely come out of the Elixir City after entering the Sky City. This is because the competition among the core disciples is too fierce, and there is no extra time to waste. If he wants to go out this time, I'm afraid it will take a while for him to return to Panacea City. While Jason was enjoying this happy feeling, he discovered that the eyes of women such as Claire, Sashoya, and Dini Shah in the hall were all fixed on Lan Yugusen. Intuitively, Jason seemed to feel a slight increase in the surrounding temperature. "By the way, Jason, these two, don't you want to introduce them?" Sensing the atmosphere in the hall, Leonardo looked at Lan Yugusen and Cassinus beside Jason and spoke. The voice Cassinus shouted outside the challenge room before was always remembered in his heart. Ahem, he coughed lightly, and Jason said to everyone, "Everyone, this is Lan Yugusen, and this is Cassinus, my friend among the core disciples." After saying that, he looked at it again. Looking at Lan Yugusen and Cassinus, he introduced everyone present to them one by one. After hearing Jason's introduction, Claire glanced at Lan Yugusen with a wary face, then got closer to Jason and hugged Jason's arm tightly. "Master, how have you been since you became a core disciple? Is it fun to be a core disciple?" Rongxing asked curiously. "Fun?" Jason couldn't help laughing. "It's quite fun. Let me just say, hee hee, I will be promoted to the 7th level low-level elixir master soon. Master, I will become a core disciple by then. I'm going to find you. Rongxing said expectantly, by the way, Master, I heard that there is a list of some core disciples. Are you on the list? No. Rongxing frowned again. He said, with your strength, Master, it is certain that you will be on the list. However, Master, you have not been a core disciple for a long time, so your ranking is not that important. However, I believe that in less than 2 years, Master, you will be able to sweep through that list. Become the #1 existence among the core disciples, Melting Saint vowed to speak out. Seeing what Melting Saint said was interesting, Lan Yuigusan and Cassianus both laughed. Actually, there is a reason why I came to Panacea City this time. After everyone came and chatted for a while, Jason told everyone present about his upcoming release. What? Master, are you leaving the Alchemist Tower and going to the Salem Empire? Doesn't that mean that Claire won't be able to see you in the future? Claire was the first to become anxious. The rest of the people present also looked at Jason in surprise. My trip to the Salem Empire, this time, is just an external mission for the Alchemist Tower. I will be back in about a year, so don't worry. Jason said with a smile. For more than a year, Master, wouldn't it be that Claire hasn't been able to see you for more than a year? No, Claire wants to follow the Master. Looking at Claire's longing eyes, Jason couldn't help but sigh. He rubbed Claire's short golden hair, and said softly, Claire, the young Master is only going out for a while, and this is an external mission given to me by the Elixir Master Tower. It does not say that I can lead people. Besides, it has only been more than a year since you joined the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower. Your studies have not yet been completed, and the time has not yet come. Unless you advance to the 8th level of the Imperial Spiritual Master, you cannot go out at will. Otherwise, you have to leave the Spirit Medicine Master Tower. It is better to stay in the tower. In fact, he also wanted to take Claire and the others with him, but he also knew that the system of the Spirit Medicine Master Tower has always been a 4-year system, which means that disciples must practice in the tower for 4 years before they officially graduate and can. If you leave the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, or if you are an Imperial Spiritualist who has advanced to the 8th level, you can also leave the tower. Otherwise, unless there is a special reason, you are generally not allowed to leave the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower unless you leave the Spirit Medicine Master Tower. But Master, Claire wants to follow you and help you. Claire's eyes were red. She was so cold in front of outsiders, but she was always so weak in front of Jason. Silly girl. Jason couldn't help but say, if you really want to help the young Master, then practice hard and advance to the 8th level of Emperor Spirit Master. Then you will be able to help the young Master. 8th level Emperor Spirit Master? Why does Claire work so hard, but she's still just a little bit behind? Claire murmured, with an inexplicable light shining in her eyes. In order to be able to help Jason, in order to no longer be a burden to Jason, in order to be able to be with Jason, Claire practiced hard every day. She just wanted to be able to help Jason, but she found that she was always so far behind. Which made her very sad. Claire. Jason hugged the other person distressfully. In fact, the reason why Jason didn't take Claire away, apart from the reason of the Elixir Tower system, the most important reason is that he didn't want to disturb Claire's practice. Claire's life experience has always existed in his heart, so that he never forgot. He deeply knows the pain of being an orphan, so he wants to find Claire's origins, retrieve her past for her, and find her parents. But Claire's life experience is so weird. Even Jason doesn't know what her life experience is. He can only start from her special cultivation speed. Jason believes that as long as Claire continues to practice, one day, there will be some clues. This was not Jason's own imagination. It was because Claire's cultivation speed was so incredible. She was the most talented person Jason had ever encountered, which made Jason full of confidence. In 5 years, more than 5 years, Claire has advanced from an ordinary person with nothing to a 7th-level advanced imperial spiritual master. Her talent is so strong that even Jason is tongue-tied. It can be said that Jason is the first genius I have ever seen. Even myself and Loken, who is in the body of a wood spirit, cannot advance as fast as Claire. You know, although Jason is now a 7th-level senior imperial spiritual master, Jason has had many adventures and taken many spiritual potions on the way to practice. For example, he advanced from a 6th-level senior spiritual master to a 7th-level spiritual master. The reason why he became a low-level imperial spiritual master was because he took the 5 elements reincarnation potion, and when he was promoted from a 7th-level intermediate imperial spiritual master to a 7th-level high-level imperial spiritual master, it was because of the earth spirit beads. But Claire relied entirely on her own talent to practice. Except when she was promoted to the 7th-level low-level imperial spiritual master, it was because of the fire-type true dragon energy in the dragon head stone. At other times, she did not take any the spiritual potion, without any auxiliary means, just step by step, without stopping, has been steadily reaching the 7th level of senior imperial spiritual master. The depth of talent, based on Jason's experience, also felt extremely shocked. Such a person is definitely not an ordinary person. Either she has a special physique or her family is of a special bloodline. Apart from that, there are no other reasons. What Jason prefers is it's the second type. That's why Jason asked Claire to practice hard, because as long as her strength reaches a certain level, something about her bloodline will definitely be exposed, and when the time comes, she can find her family for Claire. Master, Claire understands. Claire will definitely practice well. When the time comes, Claire will definitely help the master. After a while, Claire raised her head from Jason's arms. Her face said, there is no longer the weakness as before, but only incomparable firmness. As Claire spoke firmly, what no one saw was that Claire's silver eyes suddenly turned golden at this moment, and there seemed to be a flame flashing through them, burning continuously, and in the blink of an eye, another it's back to normal. Wow! On the side, Lan Yu Gusen seemed to feel something. He stood up suddenly, looked at Claire not far away with a hint of shock in his eyes, and couldn't help but take a few steps back. Lan Yu Gusen, what's wrong? Jason and Cassius both looked at Lan Yu Gusen in confusion. No, it's nothing. Lan Yu Gusen shook his head, then sat down in shock, looking at Claire next to Jason, filled with doubts in his heart. Why, isn't she a 1st-level senior imperial spiritual master? Why? There was an aura about her that made me feel afraid before. It was impossible. I had never felt this aura of fear even in the old guy who was the master of the elixir master tower. Why would such a little girl actually do this? Make me feel afraid? Lan Yu Gusen was confused, but he didn't say anything and could only bury this doubt deeply in his heart. Because she discovered that she was the only one who felt this fearful aura, but none of the other people in the hall felt it. It didn't matter that Leonardo and the others didn't feel it, maybe it was because they were not strong, but Jason and Cassius didn't feel it at all, which made Lan Yu Gusen feel extremely confused. By the way, Jason, where in the Salem Empire are you releasing this time? At this moment, Leonardo spoke up. Kiros also looked at Jason curiously. He and Leonardo were both from the Salem Empire, and they still had some understanding of the Salem Empire. What is it? The president of the Londo Province Spiritual Medicine Masters Union. Jason said. What? Londo Xingqing? President of the Alchemist Union? After hearing what Jason said, both Leonardo and Kiros looked a little surprised. What? Jason asked in confusion. Leonardo's expression suddenly became solemn. Jason, this province of Rondo belongs to the southeastern province of our Salem Empire. It is located on the easternmost border of the Salem Empire and has an excellent geographical location, but the situation inside is it's very complicated. Yeah. Kiros also nodded. Jason, the Chi'er province where my family is located in the Salem Empire, can be said to be the most peaceful place in the Salem Empire, but the Rondo province is different. The province has a huge area and rich resources. It is one of the most economically prosperous provinces in the Salem Empire. Therefore, the interests involved are also very fierce. Moreover, because it is the border of the empire, the security is not very good. As far as I know, several major families in our Salem Empire have some involvement in the Rondo province. Since you are serving as the president of the Elixir Guild, you can be considered a high-level official in the province. However, although the Elixir Tower is powerful, but after all, the Salem Empire is a foreign force, so you need to pay attention when the time comes. As for the specific situation, I am not very clear about it. Leonardo and Kiros both sounded solemn. Master, is the province of Londo so dangerous? Rongxing shouted. Jason smiled and said, I went to the province of Nerone to serve as the president of the Elixir Medicine Union. It only took more than a year. It's not a big deal. Leonardo and Kiros also nodded. They had only heard about the situation in the province. As for the specific situation, their family was not in the province of Londo, so they didn't know much about it. Besides, Jason was the core disciple sent by the spiritual medicine master Tower. Naluan, no matter how chaotic the province is, Jason's safety will not be a problem. Besides, with Jason's strength, he may not be afraid of others. In the following time, everyone started chatting again. First, Jason talked about some things in the core palace, which made Melting Saint and the others exclaim in surprise. When they learned that Cassinus turned out to be an 8th-level senior imperial spiritual master. After the 8th-level low-level elixir emperor ranked second in the core disciples elixir list, and Lan Yugusan ranked first, everyone's eyes widened and they were full of surprise. At first, Leonardo felt a little angry about the joke Cassinus made at the door of the challenge room, and wanted to find a chance to discuss it with him. But now that he knew Cassinus's strength, Leonardo was completely convinced. He knew that despite his current strength, he could fight even against the original Paltrow, but facing an 8th-level senior imperial spiritual master like Cassinus, there was no hope at all. After all, Paltrow, who is an 8th-level low-level imperial spiritual master in the core palace, could not even make it onto the elixir list, while Cassinus was one of the top peerless masters. The difference was, it cannot be judged by reason at all. After Jason finished telling what happened in the core palace, Leonardo and the others also talked about their gains over the past year. In more than a year, Leonardo and Sophia have reached the peak level of the 7th-level Imperial Spiritual Master from the 7th-level Senior Emperor Spiritual Master. Now they are continuing to practice and strive to become the 8th-level Imperial Spiritual Master. Claire has been promoted from the 7th-level low-level Imperial Spiritual Master to the 7th-level high-level Imperial Spiritual Master. She is the most improved person in the room. The progress of the Melting Saint is not small. Although there has been no change in the Spiritual Master level this year, he is still a 7th-level Intermediate Emperor Spiritual Master, but he estimates that he can be promoted to the Spiritual Master level in half a year. He is a 7th-level Senior Imperial Spiritual Master. The most important thing is his progress in alchemy and elixir science. He was originally a 6th-level Senior Alchemy Master and the Melting Saint. Now under the guidance of some advanced alchemy knowledge of Jason, in the middle of the year, he has been promoted to the 7th-level low-level Alchemy Master, and the elixir science has also been promoted from the original 6th-level low-level elixir master to the 6th-level senior master. What makes Rongxing most proud is that as his alchemy attainments have improved, Rongxing himself has created an original attack method that combines alchemy and spiritual mechanics. Just like the original wind-killing map, he can use 7 intermediate-level Imperial Spiritual Masters can easily defeat those 7th-level high-level Imperial Spiritual Masters in the Elixir City, becoming one of the 4 famous Elixir Masters in the Elixir City. Rongxing's attainments in alchemy, especially his original combination of alchemy and spiritual master techniques, also made Jason himself sigh with emotion. It can be said that he is better than his master. Temujin, Dini Shah and others are also promoted to the 7th level intermediate imperial spiritual master. With the large amount of resources provided by the spiritual medicine master tower, they are trying to reach the realm of the 7th level senior imperial spiritual master, but they have not succeeded yet. As for Kiros, he had a smooth journey after being promoted to the 7th level low-level emperor spiritual master. Not long ago, he had just been promoted to the 7th level intermediate emperor spiritual master. As for Sri Lanka, he was originally a 6th level senior spiritual master, but he was also promoted to a 7th level low-level imperial spiritual master. The elixir master level was also promoted from the original 5th level high-level elixir master to a 6th level low-level elixir master. In more than a year, under the cultivation of a large amount of resources from the spiritual medicine master tower, everyone has made rapid progress. In the following days, Jason stayed in the elixir city for a period of time. The elixir master tower did not stipulate when he would set out. He only needed to arrive within 3 months. In this way, Jason stayed in the elixir city for a full month and stayed with everyone again. During this month, Jason gave everyone a lot of guidance every day, especially Melting Saint. Jason Wood, some of the more secret alchemical knowledge of later generations, was also taught to him. Jason has only used this knowledge in the most superficial way. I believe that teaching it to Rongxing will be of great benefit to his future training in alchemy. Finally, one morning a month later, Jason said goodbye to everyone and returned to the Sky City. Then, under the leadership of the staff of the Alchemist Tower, he teleported directly out of the Alchemist Tower. After teleporting out of the Alchemist Tower, Jason did not appear in the canyon where he last entered the Alchemist Tower, but appeared directly in Lingdo City. Then Jason flew out of Lingdo City and headed towards the Twin Towers. The peripheral direction of the sphere of influence swept away rapidly. The territory of the Twin Towers is so vast that it would probably take several months to get out by walking or carriage. However, as a 7th level senior imperial spiritual master, Jason only took a few days to get out of the area. It was beyond the sphere of influence of the Twin Towers. Along the way, Jason flew by without stopping at all, but in a small city on the outermost edge of the Twin Towers sphere of influence, Jason stopped. More than a year ago, Jason followed the Northwest team and entered the Twin Towers here. More than a year later, Jason had been promoted from a 6th level senior spiritual master to a 7th level senior imperial spiritual master. He has even gained such a reputation among the core disciples of the Spirit Medicine Master Tower. Thinking back on his experiences over the past year or two, Jason was filled with emotion. After a brief pause in this small town for a long time, when the sky fell into darkness again, Jason flew up again, left the sphere of influence of the Twin Towers, and flew quickly towards the south of the Twin Towers, where the 4 continents were. The location of the Saran Empire, one of the great empires. Father, Loken, Archimedes, everyone in the territory of chaos, I'm back to see you. The Salem Empire, I, Jason, am back. In the sky, Jason looked up to the sky and roared, making a passionate and heroic cry. Shouting loudly, the sound of shouting is like thunder, soaring into the sky, rolling away, disappearing into the sky. Yuling City is located in the Londo province southeast of the Saran Empire, the 4 major continental empires. As one of the most famous provinces in the Salem Empire, Londo province is extremely famous among the many provinces in the Salem Empire. As the provincial capital of Londo province, Yuling City is the most magnificent in the Salem Empire. One of the several major cities in the city, it has a great reputation throughout the Salem Empire. At this moment, it was early morning, and the warm sunshine was like velvet falling from the sky, bringing warmth to everyone. On the official road a few hundred meters away from the north gate of Yuling City, groups of pedestrians were queuing up. Get ready to go to town. These travelers are all businessmen coming from all over the empire. Some of them are just passing through Yuling City, while some are destined for Yuling City. There are also some adventurers who come to London. There are all kinds of tourists visiting the province. In the middle of the crowd, a black young man carrying a black heavy sword and wearing a blue-gray linen robe was slowly walking towards the north gate with the flow of people entering Yuling City. This Yuling City is indeed a big city that is famous throughout the Salem Empire. It is indeed extraordinary. Looking at the majestic city in front of him, the black young man said slowly. This black young man is none other than Jason, who went to the Rondo province from the Alchemist Tower to take up his post. As the provincial capital of the province of London, Yuling City is a huge city that covers an extremely magnificent area. The outermost city wall is dozens of feet high and looks like it is made of iron. It is completely black and exudes a metallic luster. It can be seen clearly from 100 miles away. From a distance, the entire city looks like a steel fortress, standing on the plains in the southeast of the Salem Empire. There is a majestic atmosphere rushing towards the face, which is heart-stopping. After rebirth, Jason has seen many large cities, but in Jason's mind, such a magnificent city, except for the twin towers of the central city of Spirit Do City, is even more magnificent than the Chaos City in the territory of Chaos. It's only comparable to it. As for Chien City, the provincial capital of Chi'er Province, and Qatar, the royal city of the Rubiner Kingdom, the most powerful country in the northwest, cannot be compared with Yuling City. Following the flow of people, Jason quickly entered Yuling City. Originally, before Jason came to Londo Province, he planned to go to Chi'er Province to visit Loken and the others, but because Jason was not too anxious when he was on the way, he ended up rushing to Londo Province. At that time I spent almost a month and a half, plus a month with Claire and the others in the Elixir City, and now there are only about 10 days left before I take office in 3 months. So Jason rushed first. Go to Londo Province. In Jason's opinion, after taking office, he will have a lot of time to go to Chi'er Province to visit his disciple Luo Kuan, and he is not in a hurry for this moment. The entire Yuling City is extremely prosperous, the street was busy with traffic, and the bustling crowds kept passing by, giving people an extremely lively feeling. Along the street, there were some luxurious shops, attracting many passers-by to stop. But Jason didn't care about these at all. Interested, after asking a few passers-by on the road, Jason quickly found the direction of the Spiritual Medicine Masters Guild. The Spiritual Medicine Masters Guild is located at the southern end of Yuling City. It is an extremely majestic and huge building. One of the most eye-catching landmark buildings in the city, the Elixir Medicine Masters Guild in Yuling City is also known as the Rainbow Tower. Standing on the street and looking from a distance, you can see the tall spire of the Rainbow Tower. After moving forward for a moment, a magnificent building suddenly appeared in front of Jason. Jason's eyes rested on the stone badge above the door of the building. The badge was engraved with a horizontal scroll, and on the top of the scroll, there is a sharp-edged spiritual core leaning against an Erlenmeyer bottle containing spiritual potion. The entire badge looks lifelike and has an inexplicable atmosphere. At a glance, you can tell that this engraved stone is the work of a master sculptor. This carving is the micro-seal of the Spiritual Medicine Master Guild, one of the top forces in the continent. However, Jason, who was standing under the Rainbow Tower, was a little dazed at the moment. Compared with the prosperity and excitement in other places, there were not many pedestrians coming and going in front of the Rainbow Tower, giving people a feeling of depression. Walking from the gate enter the Rainbow Tower is a spacious hall, but at a glance, the hall is empty. There are only a few scattered people busy with what they are doing, and in front of the service desk opposite the hall, there are a few people. A waiter was chatting with each other. Smelling the faint smell of various potions and elixirs floating in the air, Jason's brows couldn't help but frown. What's going on in Jason's imagination? As the general meeting of the Londo Province's Elixirs Union, the Elixirs Union in Yuling City should be extremely grand and prosperous, but now, the architecture of the tower is magnificent, but the popularity inside seems to be extremely declining. It seems that the situation of the Rainbow Tower in the Rondo province is not as good as I imagined. Jason thought to himself. From the situation in the lobby of the Rainbow Tower headquarters, Jason was able to get a lot of information. Clues. Shaking his head, Jason walked towards the service desk inside the Rainbow Tower in Yuling City. This is a rather luxurious room. There are some oil paintings hanging on the walls of the room, and under the crystal chandelier, it gives people a sense of splendor. In the room, there was a round table. Beside the round table, the three managers under the president of Rainbow Tower were sitting together, with angry faces on their faces. Now the major forces in Yuling City are paying less and less attention to our Rainbow Tower. Yesterday, the Bolding family came to me to ask for control of the Shadow Valley. It was just a dream. A man wearing a golden robe, the old man with a white beard roared with anger on his face. There is nothing we can do about it. Who makes our Rainbow Tower have the smallest influence in this province of Toronto? Those major forces have always been concerned about our territory, and now the headquarters has transferred President Pachka back to his spiritual home. The Medicine Master's Tower is here, and they say they are arranging a new guild leader. The new guild leader hasn't come yet, and all those families are ready to make a move. Another old man wearing a blue-gray robe with many wrinkles on his face spoke out. New president? I don't know why the headquarters changed people. Our Rainbow Tower has been getting more and more miserable in the Rondo province in recent decades. President Pachka is also an 8th-level low-level emperor. Healer, the 7th-level low-level elixir master. With him, our life is difficult, but we can still live it. Now that he is gone, we don't know what kind of person the new President Jason is. If he is better than without President Pachka, I think the elixir union of our province of London will not be able to gain a foothold in the province of Toronto in less than 10 years. The old man in gold robe said coldly, it will be unlucky then. It's just a few of us. Darrow, Alberta. A deep voice sounded. This was a middle-aged man with short brown hair. There is no point in complaining here. Elder Pachka has left. Well, Jason is about to take office in the near future. To be honest, I am really looking forward to President Jason taking office. Both Darrot and Alberta looked over. Rule C, what do you mean? What do you mean by well? The middle-aged brown man said in a low voice, think about it, when President Pachka was here, although we could barely maintain the situation, it still couldn't prevent our territory from being continuously eroded by major forces. Maybe it can be maintained for a longer period of time, but in less than a few decades, it will probably be completely destroyed and unable to gain a foothold in the province of Toronto. With the same result, what is the difference between maintaining it for 10 years and maintaining it for several decades? But you know, although our Rainbow Tower is only the elixir guild of the Rondo province of the Salem Empire, in terms of benefits, the resources of the Rondo province are much richer than those of other provinces of the Salem Empire. You are not polite. He said that our Rainbow Tower is equivalent to the total resources created by the elixir medicine unions in several provinces of the Salem Empire. Such a site will not be given up by the headquarters. A meaningful smile appeared at the corner of the middle-aged man's mouth. It's not like the headquarters doesn't know about the situation in our Rainbow Tower. Now that President Pachka has been transferred away and a new president has been sent over, although Jason hasn't arrived yet, I think Jason is in the tower. His status should be higher than that of President Pachka, and in other aspects, he will not be weaker than President Pachka. At the round table, the eyes of both Darrow and Alberta lit up. But this is just my guess. Lure said indifferently, no matter what, we just need to stick to our own responsibilities. As for the Bolding family wanting control of Shadow Valley? Humph, yes. But they better be prepared to bleed. Well, we will send more people to guard the Shadow Valley right away. If the Bolding family dares to be tough, be prepared to bite a mouthful of blood. The old man in gold robe also snorted coldly. Boom. 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 At this moment, a rapid knock on the door suddenly sounded outside. What's going on? Didn't I tell no one to disturb us? Did the Bolding family take any action against us? In the room, the middle-aged brown man frowned, confused. Zhong shouted loudly, "Come in." The door opened suddenly, and a front desk clerk walked into the room and said respectfully, "Three supervisors, there is a young man holding a headquarters token who wants to see you." The young man holding the headquarters token? The three lures looked at each other hurriedly, an inexplicable look flashed in their eyes, and all three of them thought of a possibility at the same time. "Quick, where is that person? Take us to him quickly." The three of them stood up in a hurry and said, "Don't bother, I'm already here." A calm voice sounded outside the door, and then, a figure slowly walked in from outside the door. When Lures and the other three saw the face of this figure, all three of them couldn't help but be startled. Then, as if they had thought of something, Lure said to the waiter on the side, "Please step aside." "Yes." The waiter said respectfully, exited the room, and then closed the door. "Who is your excellency?" After the waiter went out, the three Lures looked at Jason in shock and said something. "What? Don't you know who I am?" Jason asked, and then he took out the order from the space ring, then shook his left hand slightly, and the order was sent to Lure San as if it was being held by a hand. In front of people. Although they were prepared for Jason's identity, they were still shocked when they saw the transfer order. Elixir Tower, Sealand Empire Londo Province Elixir Union, Director Lures, Darrow, Alberta, met the president. The three of them did not care about being surprised, and immediately respectfully greeted Jason. "Make a sound." "You're welcome, everyone is free to sit down," Jason said, and then sat directly on the main seat in the room. The three Lures looked at each other, hesitated for a moment, and then sat down below Jason. However, there was always a hint of surprise in the eyes looking at Jason. Although they had thought about many possibilities for the candidate of the new president, they never expected that the new president would be such a young person. Their expectations suddenly fell to the bottom. They never expected that after President Pachka was transferred away, the new president would be such a young man who looked to be in his early 20s. If the three of them were not the three chief executives of the Londo Province's Elixir Guild, and were very familiar with the Elixir's Tower's orders, and the Elixir's order issued by the Elixir Tower also had special marks that could not be imitated, even if it fell into the hands of others, they can't open it even if they don't do it themselves. They almost all have to wonder if the person in front of them is some guy who came here to pretend to be. It is true that Jason is too young. They also know that Jason is so young that he can serve as the president of the Elixir Masters Union in the province of Toronto. He must have a very high status in the Elixir Masters Tower. Maybe he is the disciple or descendant of a certain powerful figure. If such a figure is placed in some relatively stable provinces, there may be no problem, but the situation in the Rondo province is too special. Lures and the others urgently need a strong one. A strong president has arrived, otherwise he will be easily squeezed out by others in this chaotic province of London. But now, after seeing how young Jason was, their expectations were suddenly shattered. Especially after they realized that Jason was a 7th-level senior imperial spiritual master, they couldn't hide the disappointment in their hearts. No matter what you say, the previous President Pachka was still an 8th-level low-level imperial spiritualist. He could still speak a little in the Rondo province surrounded by several major forces, but for a 7th-level high-level imperial spiritualist, if you come to be the president, I am afraid that the major forces in Yuling City will never take the Rainbow Tower seriously again. Did the headquarters really give up such an important place in the province of Toronto? For a moment, Lures and others were overwhelmed with thoughts, and various thoughts kept flowing. It was as if a 5-flavor bottle had been knocked over in their hearts, and many flavors came flooding back, making them a little stunned. "Sir Jason, I don't know when you arrived in the province of London. It's really rude of us not to greet you in time." But soon, the three of them calmed down. No matter how disappointed they were, Jason Sendu will be their immediate boss in the future, so the necessary gestures must still be made. Moreover, young people are generally more angry, hold high positions, and have a somewhat arrogant personality. As the president, Jason is qualified to directly impeach the manager. They also cannot figure out Jason's temper for fear of inadvertently offending him. He, Jason, fired one of them in a fit of rage, which was unreasonable and unreasonable. Haha, you three don't have to be polite. I just arrived and came right over. Sensing the shocked expressions and somewhat worried eyes of Lures and others, Jason naturally knew what the three of them were thinking, but Jason didn't express anything and just smiled. Jason could tell at a glance that these three managers were all 7th-level senior imperial spiritual masters. In the elixir master tower, Jason even saw the elders and palace masters often. Now let's see Lures, Dalit. Jason is much calmer and more casual. After a few minutes of conversation, Jason's casualness made the three managers less anxious. It seems this Jason, although he is young and holds a high position, does not have that arrogance. In this regard, the three managers breathed a sigh of relief. 3. Jason said, since I have been appointed by the Alchemist Tower as the president of the Alchemist Union in the province of Toronto, of course I will take responsibility for what I should do. However, because I am new here, many things are not right. I understand, so everything in the Union, big and small, remains the same as before. If there is anything you need me to do, just tell me directly. Jason came here this time just to accept the external mission of the Elixir Master Tower. For this relationship, he just wanted to maintain the status quo regarding the specific situation of the Dwishing Province Spiritual Medicine Master Guild, but he didn't want to care about the rest. In fact, in the General Elixir Union, the president rarely does anything. Just like the Talon City in the Kingdom of Orlando where Jason was originally located, the president of the Talon City Elixir Union and Jason's old friend, President Saha, would do it every day. They are all in their own laboratories and rarely go to labor unions. For example, Master Benjamin, the president of the Lupaneer Kingdom's Elixir Guild, studies the characteristics of spiritual element particles in his laboratory every day. The affairs of the guild are left to the people below. On the mainland, this is a normal thing. After hearing Jason's words, the three Lures couldn't be happy at all. If they met such a president who didn't want to take care of things in other places, the supervisors below might be happy to death, but in the province of Toronto, the situation is different. If President Pachka is still there, they are still a little sure that everything will be the same as before. But now the president has been replaced by Jason, a 7th-level senior imperial spiritual master. Once the forces in Yuling City know about the rainbow, the person in charge of the tower was actually replaced by a young man who was a 7th-level senior. Lures and the others could already imagine the dilemma they would face next. By the way, you three, please give me the specific situation and information of our Elixir Guild, and I'll take a closer look. Seeing the expressions of the three Lures, Jason felt like he could immediately act as a hands-off shopkeeper. It didn't seem to be good either, so he immediately spoke out. The three Lures looked at each other and nodded with a wry smile in their hearts. At this moment, a staff member from the Elixir Union hurriedly barged in without notice. Lord Lures, Lord Darrot, Lord Alberta, something bad has happened. Our Elixir Guild was smashed by a group of people in Fong City in the north city of Yuling City. As soon as the staff rushed in, the words came out in a hurry. What? What's going on? How could this happen? The three Lures who were about to scold the staff because they didn't know the etiquette in front of the new president were angry and were stunned when they heard the staff member's words. Stood up. In the room, Jason's brows couldn't help but frown. In the room, the three Lures were angry and shocked. The three stood up suddenly and shouted coldly. Three adults, I don't know the specific situation. It's just that a steward from Beijing Fong City came to report just now, saying that Fong City was smashed. The staff member faced the angry Lures and the three of them, and they were all angry. Not daring to take a breath, he hurriedly made a sound. Let's go take a look. In the room, the three of lures looked at each other and said something immediately. But as soon as they finished speaking, they suddenly realized that it was not the three of them who had the final say in the Rainbow Tower. Suddenly, all three of them focused their attention on Jason in the room. "Lord Jason, I wonder what we should do now." The three lures suppressed the anger in their hearts and asked Jason for instructions. In their original imagination, Jason, as the president of the Elixir Medicine Union sent by the headquarters to the province of Toronto, held a high position and was young. He must have an extremely hot temper. When he heard the previous news, he would be extremely angry. But Jason's performance in the room was beyond their expectations. In the room, Jason just frowned slightly, and there was no trace of anger on his face. Some were just indifferent. He stood up and said, "You three, I am not very familiar with the situation in Yuling City. However, let's go to Beijing first to see what's going on. Please help the three of you lead the way." Faced with Jason's indifferent look, for some reason, the three lures were all a little dazed for a moment, their brains were a little blank, and they were confused. They were shaking their heads, seeming to be thinking about something. After a moment, they figured out why they felt weird. It was because Jason's tone and expression were too indifferent, and he acted extremely calm. If they were replaced by a man with a gray beard, his strength, for a strong old man, everything seems to be normal, but when it happens to a young man, this is a bit. But at this time, the three of them naturally couldn't think about it anymore. They nodded immediately and led Jason towards Beijing City, quickly. In the process of rushing, Jason also gained some understanding of Beijing City through the exchanges with lures and the other three. The Elixir Medicine Union is extremely noble in a region like the Northwest. In any city, it is one of the most powerful forces, but among the four major empires like the Salem Empire, it is somewhat different. The major forces spread among the powerful people on the mainland are the Twin Towers, 3 cities, and 4 empires. Although the Twin Towers are ranked before the 4 empires, in fact, these major forces are equally famous. The Twin Towers are more powerful than the 4 empires. In fact, it's not much stronger. Therefore, in the 4 major empires like the Salem Empire, the power of the Elixir Union does not have the absolute right to speak like the small countries in the Northwest, and can only compete with the local forces. In the province of London, the Rainbow Tower has been in decline in recent decades, and its status is even worse. Among the major forces in the province of London, it can only be regarded as the last. However, because the Rainbow Tower is backed by the Alchemist Tower, has natural advantages in elixir science. With these advantages, it can also attract many elixir masters to join in the Rondo province. In addition, it has control over the Shadow Valley of the Nanluo Mountains outside the Seremba Kingdom, and can obtain a large amount of materials were prepared by the elixir masters of the Union, and finally sold in the market. Although it continued to decline, it was still able to gain a firm foothold in Yuling City. However, now, Beijing City, which is extremely important to the Rainbow Tower, has been smashed, which inevitably makes lures and the others so angry. Just when Jason and the others were rushing to Beijing City, the city of Rainbow Tower was in a mess at the moment. Countless pedestrians and people were watching outside the city, constantly pointing and talking. The first floor of this market is the service hall, which also sells some low-level elixirs and materials. These elixirs and materials are usually placed in some ordinary crystal cabinets. They will only be sold when customers need them. The waiter brings it out and introduces it. But at this moment, almost all the crystal counters in the entire hall were smashed, and a large number of crystal fragments were laid on the floor. Also on the floor were some smashed low-level elixirs and elixirs of various colors. The potion was flowing on the floor, and a mixed smell of potion floated in the air. Bang! Bang! The sound of shattering crystal cabinets continued to be heard in the hall. The fierce guards held weapons in their hands and kept smashing open the crystal cabinets one after another. A dripping roar. Smashed it all for me. The market of this elixir guild is really outrageous. The elixirs sold here are shoddy, not to mention expensive, and now they are almost killing people. Such fengshui is not worthy of establishing a foothold in Yuling City. If we continue to operate for one day, I don't know how many people will be deceived and victimized. At one end of the hall, a young man with long blonde hair and handsome appearance was directing these people. The guard kept taking action, but there was a ferocious look in his eyes. Beside him, a middle-aged man wearing a fiery red robe stood upright like a spear, his eyes were like lightning, and there was a steady presence on his body. The breath of terror dissipated. Looking at those fierce guards, in the hall, many waiters in the Elixir Guild market had unbearable eyes, sitting angrily at the guards who were constantly beating them up. Many of them were still injured, but they did not dare to. They stepped forward to stop them, and beside these waiters, there were many fengshui guards wearing spiritual master uniforms and holding weapons. They all looked at the big men with burning eyes. Some of the guards were quite embarrassed, while others stood aside in silence, with fear in their eyes. All the guards, waiters and staff in fengshui all focused their attention on a burly figure in the center of the hall. This is a man wearing a khaki spiritual master's uniform and with short brown hair. He is standing in the middle of the hall, holding a giant sword. His spiritual master's uniform is damaged and there is blood at the corner of his mouth. He looks extremely embarrassed, but he is, without any intention of retreating. He looked at the blonde young man fiercely. This person is none other than Jane, the guard commander of Beiqingfang City of the Spiritual Medicine Master Guild, a 7th-level low-level earth element imperial spiritualist. Master Brada, don't go too far. This is the city of our Rainbow Tower. If you dare to cause trouble here, our Rainbow Tower will never give up easily. When Master lures and the others come, then you're pretty, so why don't you stop? Jane's eyes were so angry that they were about to spit out fire, and he looked at Brada fiercely and said something. Haha, you won't give up easily? Do you look better than me? You sell this kind of shoddy product in Rainbow Tower City, which almost killed one of my guards. How dare you say that? It's fair to the people. I'll be waiting for you here. The supervisor, I want him to give me an explanation. If he can't give me an explanation, I will smash everything here. Smash it hard. The blonde young man gritted his teeth and shouted. Stop it, I'll fight you. Finally, behind the hall, some guards in fengshui couldn't help it. They roared and rushed towards the big men who kept beating them with weapons in hand. You still dare to take action? You are looking for death. When those big men saw the guards rushing up, their eyes revealed cruel looks. They stopped beating them, and then waved their weapons to meet fengshui's guards. The fierce battle began quickly. Among the entire fengshui guard number 50 and number 60, there were only nearly 20 people who rushed forward, and they were all 3rd-level spiritual masters and 4th-level heavenly spiritual masters. There were few 5th-level sections. Spiritual masters, and those blonde young people brought to smash the people, there are fully 30 or 40, and the weakest ones are 4th-level heavenly spiritual masters. Most of them are 5th-level sect spiritual masters, and 2 6th-level spiritual masters. The 5-color spiritual light lit up, and the sound of weapons clashing resounded through the hall. The battle was almost one-sided. In a moment, those fengshui guards who rushed up were knocked to the ground, with blood flowing all over their bodies. However, they were hanged. No angry resistance. Haha, you still dare to resist. I was too gentle with you before. This time I will let you know how powerful Grandpa is. The eyes of those big men showed bloodthirsty light, and they started to attack excitedly. Damn it! In the middle of the hall, seeing his man being seriously injured and resisting with blood, Jn, the commander of the city guards, was almost bleeding in his heart. He roared in his mouth, and the strength of the 7th-level low-level Emperor Spirit Master was suddenly released. The giant sword in his hand waved, aiming at the group of big men and rushing towards them like lightning. Humph! At this moment, the middle-aged man in red robe who stood motionless next to the blonde young man like a javelin suddenly moved, and the spear in his hand suddenly raised, aiming at Jane's figure. A shot from afar. Boom! A gun was fired, and the temperature in the entire hall instantly increased by dozens of degrees. The fire spiritual elements continued to gather, and a terrifying fire dragon instantly formed at the head of the gun. It roared in its mouth, rolled, and then faced Jane, took aim and pounced away like lightning. In the hall, feeling something strange behind him, Commander Jane's expression changed drastically. His body turned sharply during the flyby, and the earth's spiritual power surged in his body. The giant sword in his hand was aimed at the fire dragon that was rapidly attacking behind him. He struck hard with his sword. However, the speed of the fire dragon was too fast. When Commander Jane just made these actions, it rushed in front of him. Boom! The earth's spiritual power armor on Commander Jane's body suddenly shattered, and the terrifying spiritual power penetrated his body, bringing out a cloud of blood. In the drama, Jane's body was flying at high speed. He fell heavily to the ground, plowing a long ravine on the hard marble floor. His face was pale, and blood continued to spurt out of his mouth, spilling on the floor, which was shocking. The middle-aged man in red robe hit the target, but he stopped taking action. His expression was emotionless, and he stood behind the blonde young man again. Those who know the current affairs are heroes. Commander Jesse, don't resist in vain. The blonde young man, Brada, sneered, and Chin spoke out. The situation in the entire hall was completely in the hands of the blonde young man, and it was completely one-sided. In the hall, the Fengshi guards who had been resisting before were knocked to the ground one by a group of wolf-like men in a moment. They were covered in blood and each one was seriously injured. Jane, the strongest guard commander in the entire elixir guild in Beiqingfang City, was lying in the hall under the attack of the middle-aged man in red robe. His face was slumped, his clothes were ragged and stained with blood. Many waiters and staff in the market retreated to the corners of the hall, looking at the fierce men with angry eyes. Seeing this bloody and miserable scene, the passers-by watching outside the hall couldn't help but shake their heads. The Protector Longroni of the Bolding family is a 7th-level high-level fire-type Imperial Spiritual Master. In our Jade Spirit City, he is a figure who cannot leave. Although Commander Jane is strong, he is only a low-level 7th-level Emperor. A spiritual master is no match for Protector Longroni. There has been such a big fuss this time. It seems that the Bolding family is really going to attack the Rainbow Tower. I heard that Patch from the Rainbow Tower, President Ka, has just left office, and the new president has not yet taken office. This is the right time for the Bolding family to choose. But Master Brada still doesn't leave until now. If rulers from the Rainbow Tower takes charge of them, once he arrives, he will be in danger. Danger? With Protector Longroni here, nothing will happen to young Master Brada. Protector Longroni of the Bolding family is a 7th-level senior peak Imperial Spiritual Master. President Pachka of the Rainbow Tower is gone. The remaining lures in charge of them are all 7th-level high-level Imperial Spiritual Masters, and they are also elixir masters. I am afraid that even if the three of them attack together, they may not be able to defeat the Protector Longroni. What's more, Bra Master De is the young master of the Bolding family. If Rainbow Tower dares to attack him, the two sides will really be at odds with each other. President Pachka is gone, and Director rules, and the others dare not take action. Indeed, otherwise, why do you think Master Brada is standing here so confidently? He has already figured this out. It seems that the Rainbow Tower is completely gone. Alas, we are actually the ones who will suffer. When the time comes, the power of selling elixirs in Yuling City will be dominated by one family, which will not be good for us. Outside the crowd, many people were talking loudly, paying attention to everything in the hall. Master, should we smash it now? A group of big men asked for permission after smashing all the crystal counters in the hall. Smash it, why don't you smash it, keep smashing it. In the hall, the blonde young man Brada looked at the messy hall, with a sneer on his face. this is just the first floor hall of the Panacea Master Guild in Beiqingfang City. The things placed here are all ordinary things, and many good things are placed inside. We haven't finished smashing them yet. Haha, young master is wise. These big men shouted loudly, with expressions on their faces. Excited expression. You dare. In the hall, Commander Jane, who was seriously injured, stood up with difficulty and roared. Commander Jane, it seems that your injuries are not serious. You still have the strength to stand up. One of the leaders, a bald man at the level of a sixth-order spiritual master, walked over with a sneer, with a bloodthirsty look in his eyes. Excitement flashed through, a seventh-level imperial spiritual master, I haven't beaten my bald head yet. Haha, I'm going to have a good time this time. Stop. Just when the bald head was about to strike, an angry roar suddenly appeared. There was a sound outside the hall, and immediately, the crowd outside the door started to commotion. It's Director Rules. And Director Darat and Alberta, all three of them are here. There were exclamations in the crowd, and then they dispersed. 4 figures walked out of the crowd, came to the Fengsher Hall, and appeared in front of everyone in the hall. Lord Lures, Lord Darat, Lord Alberta. Seeing these 3 people, many city employees in the hall let out cries of grief and indignation. Looking at this extremely messy scene, the faces of the 3 lures quickly turned red, their eyes were full of anger, almost spitting out fire, and they stared coldly at the big men present and the blonde young man Brada. Behind the 3 lures, Jason's face was also a little livid. As the Alchemist Tower appointee to serve as the president of the Londo Province's Alchemist Union, he also felt a surge of anger in his heart. Brada, what is going on? If you don't give an explanation today, even if your father, the leader of the Mazabin clan, comes, you will never be able to leave Fengsher safely. The 3 lures were completely angry, looked at the blonde young man with cold eyes, and roared in his mouth. Director Rules, you ask me what's going on, and I'm going to ask you what's going on. Rules roared across from him, but there was no trace of panic on Brada's face. He slowly took out he picked up half a bottle of elixir that exuded a cyan luster. Director Lures, this bottle of 6th level healing potion was purchased by my subordinates from your Rainbow Tower city. I didn't expect that after my subordinates were injured and drank it, not only were their injuries not healed, but because of this spirit the potion almost killed him. If Master Frank of our Building family hadn't come to the rescue, I'm afraid that my subordinate would have died in vain under the elixir of your Rainbow Tower. I also want to ask you, what is your Rainbow Tower selling? Does the elixir save lives or kill people? In the hall, Brada sneered on his face and spoke coldly. Impossible. Lures and the 3 of them snorted coldly. Impossible? The elixirs sold by your Rainbow Tower all have the mark and number of the Rainbow Tower. Please see if this bottle of elixir is sold by your Rainbow Tower. Brada held the bottle in his hand. The potion bottle was held high, and the logo and number about the Rainbow Tower clearly appeared in everyone's eyes. Go Nuri's Rainbow Tower, get out of Yuling City and pass it off as inferior. This is going to kill the people of Yuling City. What Rainbow Tower, what elixir guild, I think it's still called a murderer's guild. Better. Outside the hall, the crowd made a noise, and a few even roared, but anyone with a discerning eye could see that these people clearly had ulterior motives. Brada, the elixirs in our Rainbow Tower are all strictly prepared by the elixir masters in the Tower. Lure said coldly, but before he could wait, he finished speaking. Ruers, is this how you handled this matter? An indifferent voice suddenly sounded slowly in the hall. The voice was not loud, but it was clearly reflected in everyone's ears. A figure walked out from behind the 3 lures and said coldly, the other party is running rampant in our Rainbow Tower market and has injured so many of our guards. Are you 3 going to continue arguing with each other like this? Aren't you ready to seek justice for our members of Rainbow Tower? In the hall, the expressions of the 3 lures who were originally extremely angry froze. And many people and all the guards present could not help but look at Song Lu with doubts in their hearts. Jason walked out from behind the three of them. Who is this kid? I haven't seen it before. Why are you actually talking to Director Lures and the others like this? Many people said in shock, looking at Jason with doubts on their faces. In fact, Jason and Lures had just come in at the beginning. At that time, some people noticed Jason behind the three Lures, but they initially regarded Jason as a follower of the Rainbow Tower, so they didn't take it to heart. However, what Jason said now, his stern tone, shocked everyone. What are you, kid? Even Brada was a little dazed at first, but he soon came to his senses, put away the medicine bottle in his hand, pointed at Jason, and said coldly voice, "Boy, I know you want to stand out and attract other people's attention, but who are you?" "I am talking to Director Lures and them now." "What is your identity? How dare you speak out? Get out of here, otherwise, I will make you regret showing up here." However, before Brada could say anything, he saw the black-haired young man opposite him suddenly raise his hand. Pa! A huge slap suddenly sounded throughout the hall. Faced with Brada's shouting, Jason showed no expression on his face and just slapped the other person in the face. At this moment, Brada's thinking suddenly stopped, and he felt as if he had been hit hard by a 7th-level armored Tyrannosaurus. At that moment, Brada even felt that his whole face seemed to be it had been smashed, and an unparalleled power surged from the palm to his face. This force was so powerful that before Brada even had time to scream, the whole person was already thrown heavily like a rag bag, flying for more than 10 meters. He fell to the ground full of crystal fragments, his body rolling continuously, and at the same time a mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth, and there were teeth all over the ground. The expressions of everyone in the entire hall suddenly became dull, and the people outside were even more stunned as they stared at the young man who slapped away the young Master Brada of the Bolding family, with deep disbelief in their eyes. No one thought that this young man would be so bold as to slap Brada in the face. That was something that even Lures and the others did not dare to do. Even the 7th-level high-level peak Emperor Spirit, who was always guarding Brada Sherlong-Roni, also had no time to prevent this scene from happening. At this moment, there was no sound in the entire hall, and the atmosphere was so strange that it was suffocating. In the hall, Brada, who was slapped away by a slap, took a few breaths before he woke up. He roared suddenly, and his face became extremely ferocious. "Kill him, Long Luo-ni, kill him for me." Brada's red eyes stared at Jason, her expression distorted. Not far away, Longroni's head suddenly raised, looking at Jason with cold eyes. Not good. Behind Jason, the three Lures all screamed at this moment. I don't know why recently, it's probably because of the new plot unfolding. It's very painful for Shaoshur to write, and it's very slow. It's a little late. I'm sorry, Longroni, do you dare to take action? Do you know who he is? Brada, don't make stupid decisions. The three Lures roared, with shock and anger on their faces. Z rushed in front of Jason and protected him. At the same time, he looked at Longroni not far away with vigilance in his eyes. As the three Lures who have served as stewards in the Rondo province for quite a long time, everyone knows very well about Longroni of the Bolding family. He is an out-and-out 7th-order high-level, peak fire-type imperial, spiritual master with unparalleled strength. But Jason is the new president sent by the headquarters. No matter what happens, Lures and the others cannot let Ronroni hurt Jason. Although Jason had exuded his own aura when they first met at the Rainbow Tower, showing off the strength of a 7th-level advanced, but Jason is only an elixir master after all. In Stern Continent, the strength of elixir masters of the same level has always been lower than that of spiritual masters. Just like the three Lures, although they are 7th-level high-level imperial spiritual masters, in terms of strength, at most, he is just a little stronger than the 7th-level intermediate spiritual master. What's more, Ronroni's level is half a level higher than Jason. If he does it, Jason will be unable to resist it. Ruers and the others will never allow this. Something happened to Jason. Stupid decision, haha, stupid decision. Besides, Brada climbed up from the ground with difficulty. He covered his left face, his eyes were red, and he let out a crazy roar from his mouth, staring at Jason not far away. Growing up, as a blogger, Brada, the son of the patriarch Imosibin of the Erding family, has not suffered losses before, but this is the first time that he has been slapped so hard in public. Even his father Imosibin has never been like this. This deep humiliation was even more difficult for him to accept than killing him. Boy, I don't care who you are, or what your relationship is with lures or the others, for them to care about you so much, but you are finished, you are dead. I, Brada, have never suffered anything like this since I was a child. Shame, I tell you, not even the King of Heaven can save you now. Brada pointed at Jason with a twisted expression. His fingers were even trembling slightly because of anger. At this moment, he was already full of naked anger. Brada, calm down. Lures shouted angrily at Brada with a hint of worry in his eyes. On the side, the two supervisors, Darrow and Alberta, were also full of worries. They stared at Longroni opposite, for fear of his sudden attack. Although the three of them felt extremely happy about Jason's previous unscrupulous behavior, the current situation made their hearts tense. In fact, in terms of power, the declining Rainbow Tower is far behind the Bolding family. If the two sides really want to clash with each other at all costs, the Rainbow Tower will not be able to withstand the anger of the Bolding family. If nothing else, just Longroni alone is not something that a few of them can resist. Calm down, haha, calm down the hell. Brada yelled crazily, Ruers, Derot, Alberta, I will talk about the sale of elixirs in your Rainbow Tower later. I'm arguing with you. Now, all three of you, get out of my way. If you continue to protect this kid, it will be a declaration of war with my Bolding family. You should think clearly about the consequences. After hearing Brada's words, Lures, the expressions of the three people changed. Longroni, don't do anything to me yet. Kill that kid for me. Kill him for me quickly. Brada pointed at Jason and roared at Longroni beside him, anyone who dares to, I'll kill everyone who stops you, don't hold back, I'll take the responsibility if anything happens. After hearing Brada's words, the crowd that had been surrounding them suddenly roared and hurriedly backed away. This was really going to happen. The confrontation between the two major forces was not something they, the bottle people named by, could get involved in. The hearts of many people present were raised at this moment, looking sadly at Jason not far away. Longroni, how dare you, do you know who he is? He is the new shirt of our Rainbow Tower, the three of Lures roared in shock and anger, but before they could finish their words, Longroni on the opposite side took action brazenly. His fiery red hair suddenly flew into the air, and terrifying spiritual power was suddenly released from his body, covering the entire hall. Two fiery red divine lights suddenly bloomed from his eyes, and the spear in his hand stabbed out. Boom! The terrifying fire spiritual power swept through everything at once. At this moment, the powerful 7th Order high-level peak spiritual power was like a volcanic eruption, suddenly erupting, and the terrifying pressure shrouded down. Instantly the three Lures who were standing in front of Jason were immediately wrapped up. For a moment, Lures, Darrow, and Alberta seemed to be stuck in a quagmire. They couldn't exert any strength and had to defend themselves with difficulty. Boom! 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 Three dull sounds sounded, and a spiritual storm seemed to blow up in the entire hall, and the terrifying aura spread out. The three Lures stepped back a few steps, their faces pale, and a terrifying fire spiritual power instantly entered their bodies, rushing through their bodies and being difficult to eliminate for a while. The faces of the three of them were full of shock and anger. They never expected that Longroni would dare to actually take action. As a 7th level high-level peak imperial spiritual master, Longroni was even more powerful in terms of strength. He is much higher than the three of them. Under the current situation on the field, even if the three of them join forces, they cannot be Longroni's opponent. Longroni, stop it. Brada, this Lord Jason is the new president of the Rainbow Tower assigned to us by the Alchemist Tower. You are digging your own grave. At this moment, the three lures, they all cried out in fear. Haha, the new president of the Rainbow Tower assigned to you by the Alchemist Tower? Lures, if you want to keep this kid, you have to find a better excuse. What kind of president will this kid be? Do you think I, Brada, am an idiot, or do you think that all of us here are idiots? Brada said wildly, with a look full of resentment, Longroni, do it for me, if anything happens, I will take care of it. Boom. As soon as Brada finished speaking, Longroni took action again. He took a step forward, and purple-red flames suddenly rose from the spear in his hand. The hot breath escaped, and his eyes were cold, as if he was the king in charge of the world, aimed at Jason's location and shot hard. Roar. The infinite fire spiritual power instantly condensed into a roaring fire dragon. It was lifelike, roaring, rolling, and surging towards Jason. Wherever it went, the air exploded and burned. Lord Jason, be careful. Seeing this situation, the three of lures were shocked. Although they all knew that Jason was a 7th-level senior imperial spiritual master, but now Longroni's attack, even he couldn't resist it either. How could a young man like Jason resist it? At this moment, the three of them yelled at the same time, and their bodies swayed, trying to block Jason. So arrogant, so arrogant. You three get out of the way. I want to see how this guy killed me today. Behind the three lures, Jason remained silent and watched all this coldly, suddenly spoke out at this time, his eyes were calm, and his hands were spread out to both sides. A powerful force that the three of lures could not resist instantly appeared on the three of them. The three people's rapidly moving figures suddenly stopped in mid-air as if they were grasped by a pair of invisible big hands. Middle. Then, Jason stepped forward, and 5-colored divine light burst out from his eyes, piercing the sky. His right hand suddenly stretched out, and his 5 fingers spread out. Each finger turned into a divine rainbow, and a huge handprint formed in the void, aiming at the roaring flame dragon and grabbing it hard. Boom! An indescribable terrifying coercion instantly appeared in the sky above this area. Then, a huge roar sounded, and in an instant, the void seemed to collapse. In everyone's astonished eyes, the giant flame dragon formed by the spiritual power of Longroni, a 7th-level senior peak imperial spiritual master, was pinched by Jason's 5-color magic hand like it was pinching an earthworm. The flame dragon suddenly let out a mournful roar from its mouth, and like tofu caught in the palm of its hand, it was suddenly crushed into pieces, turned into fire elements that filled the sky, and dissipated in the air. But Jason still stood there proudly, with a cold look on his face, and no scars on his body, as if what he had dispersed earlier was not the vigorous blow of a high-level peak imperial spiritual master, but the attack of a child. At this moment, everyone was staring at this scene dumbfounded, almost unable to believe their eyes. This is impossible. Longroni's face showed a trace of disbelief, and his eyes showed a trace of ferocity. Infinite flame elements spurted from his body, and then he raised the spear in his hand again, wanted to attack again. But how could Jason give him this opportunity? His eyes were sharp, he took a step forward, and without waiting for the other party to react, he slapped him across the face. Boom! Jason pulled out his palm, and the void collapsed. The spiritual protection formed around Longroni's body was shattered like paper. At this moment, Longroni felt like he was imprisoned. The flames on his body suddenly went out, and the spiritual power in his body could no longer be used. He could only stare with frightened and angry eyes, watching helplessly as Jason's palm swung out and slapped him hard in the face. Pa! A crisp slap sounded throughout the hall. Everyone present was stunned at this moment, with their mouths opened wide and their eyes widened. Longroni was hit by Jason's palm, and his whole body was immediately sent flying like a dead pig. Although the blow hit his face, Longroni's whole body was twisted. Red blood spurted out from his mouth. As a 7th-level peak imperial spiritual master, Longroni is also an extremely dazzling figure in Yuling City. Apart from the Emperor's spiritual masters who are used to guard the major forces, there are not many people who are stronger than him. Even the 3 managers of Rainbow Towers cannot compare with him. In the eyes of ordinary people, he is also a top master. But now, in front of Jason, he, a supreme master, was like a helpless child who was slapped away with no room for resistance. Ah! Longroni was suddenly whipped away, and he suddenly let out a shrill scream. His whole body fell heavily on the floor of the hall, and a deep pit suddenly appeared on the hard marble floor. His whole body felt like lying there like a dead fish. With such strength, you want to kill me? It's ridiculous, like an ant. Jason took 2 steps forward, expressionless, looking coldly at Longroni, who was slapped into the ground by his slap, and said, "Speak indifferently." When Jason Zhou entered the Sky City, with the power of a 7th-level intermediate Imperial Spiritual Master, he could slap away a 7th-level Senior Imperial Spiritual Master like Korhal He Lai. Now Jason's strength has reached Edmit's, who has reached the 7th level and defeated the 8th-level Imperial Spiritual Master, is the top evil being among all the core disciples of the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower. He wants to teach Longroni, who has reached such a high level, a peak Imperial Spiritual Master. It's just effortless. Silence, deathly silence. Then, hiss. In an instant, the whole place suddenly burst into gasps. Everyone looked at Jason, who was standing there quietly, with dull eyes, and their eyes showed incomparable horror but disbelief. The guard commander Jane in the hall, as well as the guards and waiters from many cities and towns, all had their eyes widened and their mouths opened wide. They were so shocked that they couldn't make any sound. Their eyes fell to the floor and they could hardly believe their own eyes. The 3 lures who had regained their freedom also looked at Jason not far away with shock in their eyes. As for Brada, the blonde young man who was shouting crazily, he was completely dumbfounded. What's going on? What happened? Why did Master Longroni fly out all of a sudden? Did I get dazzled? What happened? How did I see Master Longroni fly away with a slap? Sir Longroni is a 7th-level peak Imperial Spiritual Master. He is a prestigious existence in our Jade Spirit City and even in the entire Rondo industry. How could he be slapped away like this? That boy? Who is it? Why is he so powerful? Did Director Lures mean that boy is the new president of Rainbow Tower? No, it's impossible, I must have heard wrong. All people looked around in shock, not knowing what was going on. In fact, they couldn't believe what they saw. You must know that Longroni is a 7th-level high-level fire-type Imperial Spiritual Master. As long as there is no one in Jade and Spirit City who has not heard of the reputation of Longroni's protector of the Bolding family, and the black-haired young man, no matter how you look at it, he is only in his early 20s, but for such a young man in his early 20s, the fire dragon attack he used to crush Longroni with one palm earlier even slapped Longroni away. This kind of the naked visual impact shocked them, but at the same time they were all incomprehensible. You guy, I want you to die, I want you to die. Just when countless people were shocked and in disbelief, Longroni, who had been whipped away by Jason before, suddenly let out he roared angrily and jumped up suddenly, glaring at Jason fiercely. At this moment, Longroni's face no longer had the arrogant aura it had before. The left side of his face, which was hit by Jason, was as swollen as a steamed bun. It was extremely red and almost bleeding. And his expression was even more distorted. His face was so ferocious that it made people feel terrible, and his eyes were like a wounded lone wolf, staring at Jason not far away. Boom! Longroni jumped up, and a terrifying pressure suddenly burst out from his body. At this moment, he looked like an evil ghost from hell, showing extremely hateful eyes and terrifying spiritual power. It continued to rise and release from his body. The flames rose from the spear in his hand, and he aimed it at Jason. Seeking death. Faced with Longroni's desperate blow, Jason's expression remained calm. 2 rays of light surged in his eyes, piercing the void. 5-color spiritual power flowed around his body, and he took a step forward. Aim at Longroni and punch him away. Jason actually used his fist to resist Longroni's desperate spear. This behavior made everyone present feel unbelievable. In everyone's shocked eyes, Jason's fist filled with colorful light collided with the sharp flame spear. This strong contrast made time seem to stop in an instant. Boom! A deafening roar sounded. In everyone's astonished eyes, Longroni's spear not only did not pierce Jason's fist, but Jason rushed forward suddenly, and Longroni's spear was in Longroni's hand. The flames on the spear suddenly went out. The body of the spear, which was forged from some kind of rare red metal, suddenly had numerous cracks like fragile glass, and then the entire spear suddenly shattered. Pfft! Jason's fist did not weaken and hit Longroni's body hard. The flame robe on Longroni's body suddenly shattered, and blood spurted out from everywhere on his body. Blood spurted out from his mouth, and he collapsed on the ground like a dead dog. His eyes were blurred, and he only had half a life left. After doing all this, Jason cast his cold gaze on Brada again. What do you want to do? I am the young master of the Bolding family. My father, Mo-Sibin, is an 8th level imperial spiritual master. If you dare to attack me, our Bolding family will not let you go. At this moment, Brada, who had been extremely arrogant before, suddenly panicked, and he made a stern voice to warn Jason. Lord Jason on the side, the 3 lures also recovered from the shock and hurriedly spoke to Jason. The Bolding family won't let me go? Huh? Jason sneered, and then slapped him again. Pah! Brada was whipped away hard again, and his body suddenly became a gourd. His right cheek also had a high bulge. His handsome appearance before had completely turned into a pig's head at this moment. Seeing Jason slap Brada again without hesitation, the 3 lures felt extremely happy but also felt deeply worried. Who is Bradana? That was the son of Mo-Sibin, the patriarch of the Bolding family, and he had a noble status in Yulingzhen. Lord Jason's behavior made things smooth, but it also made the matter worse. When President Pachka was here, he had been cautious and did not dare to fall out with the major forces in Yuling City. But now that President Jason came up, he not only beat Longroni, the protector of the Bolding family, half to death, and even slapped young Master Brada twice hard. These slaps were not Brada's slaps, but slaps on the faces of the Bolding family. And after slapping Brada away, Jason turned his attention to the men in the hall who were in their 30s and 40s, whose bodies were shaking like chaff, and who had previously smashed cabinets. These big men are all the guards of the Bolding family. They are all 4th and 5th level spiritual masters. Among them are 2 6th level spiritual masters. With the Bolding family on their backs, they have always been the most powerful in Yuling City. Those who are used to running rampant are all uncle-like figures. But at this moment, these old men who were arrogant and excited before have all turned into chickens. They all looked at Jason with frightened eyes, like delicate little lambs looking at ferocious animals. Like a big bad wolf, his body was shaking like chaff, and he could almost lose his balance. It was true that Jason's previous behavior was too terrifying. He slapped Master Brada away, and punched the famous Lord Longroni half to death. He lay there like a dead dog, making them unable to lift him up at all. A little bit of resistance. Rulers, destroy all their hands, and then throw them out to me. They are here one by one. It just stains my eyes. Looking at these big men, Jason gave the order to Rules. Jason, Lure said hesitantly. What? Jason's cold gaze fell directly on Lure's like a sharp blade. Seeing Jason's cold gaze, Lure's couldn't help but tremble in his heart. He stopped making any sound and rushed into the group of people. Suddenly, shrill screams rang out throughout the hall. The big men who had previously smashed the cabinets had their hands broken by Lures and were thrown onto the street outside the hall. These big men were arrogant and domineering in front of the guards in Fengshi, and their strength was extraordinary. However, in front of Lures, a high-level imperial spiritual master, they had no power to resist at all, and they did not dare to resist. They did not see has Lord Longroni been beaten like this? If he dares to resist, it may not only be a matter of breaking his hands, but also a matter of losing his life. In an instant, there were 30 or 40 wailing men on the street outside. The onlookers all moved aside in horror. What was happening here was completely beyond their imagination. After throwing all the 30 or 40 big men out of the whole hall suddenly became much quieter. At this moment, only the injured guards of numbers 20 and 30, as well as some uninjured guards, plus many people from Rainbow Tufong City were left. Waiters and staff.